welcome to Mississippi Park Community Organization, also known as ELPCO's first meeting of 2026. It's January, and we're excited to sort of have a small meeting to kick off the new year. As always, we start out the evening with our Salt Lake City Fire Department Station 5. They come in between calls if possible. So we haven't seen you guys in a while. We're so excited to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, welcome. We have people out there on Zoom, so go ahead and, the owl will follow you. So
Okay.
Go ahead
I don't know where I need to stand or talk to.
Chat wherever you want. It'll just start, once you start talking, it's gonna look at you.
Okay.
Very cool.
So every time we come out, we just share our newsletter of the month. And this month we're focusing on cold weather emergencies. And I know it hasn't been that cold of a winter so far. I haven't seen a lot of snow. But still, we like to talk about some of those things because I know a lot of us, we like to be active, get out in the outdoors, and there's still that chance of having some of these issues. So one of those things is recognizing signs of hypothermia, if you're not familiar with it. If you're seeing someone with intense shivering, cold pale skin, fatigue, slurred speech, confusion, blue or gray lips, these are all signs like they need emergency care. So call 911, and in the meantime, while you're waiting for us to respond, focus on getting that person warm. If you can get them out of the cold or get them out of wet or cold clothes in preparation for us to arrive. Another thing, when you find yourselves out traveling, doing whatever outdoor excursions, make sure your car has some essential items in there. If you do find yourself stranded, get stuck out in the cold. And some of those things would be extra set of clothing for the cold weather, non-perishable food items, extra water, medications, and a first aid kit. Another safety issue I'd like to point out, I saw this just the other day down where I live. We're seeing some lakes and ponds that are getting to that frozen state, kind of in between, and kids like to get out there and play on it. Just be mindful if that ice is thick enough or safe enough for you to be out on, or if you see something that looks dangerous, don't hesitate first to reach out to those individuals, and then also you can call 911 if the need arises, if someone does go through the ice. Again, this one hasn't been an issue so far, and that's clearing snow from around your fire hydrants. So hopefully that we get some of that in the future here. But if you have a home that's near a fire hydrant, if you can help us out, clear the snow around that area so we can see it. It is visible in the event that we do need that in the wintertime. These are just some of the things we want to talk about with the cold weather. There's always other things on our fire department website. If you go to fire.slc.gov, there's plenty of things there regarding our hiring. Right now we have, we're hiring for our August 2026 recruit class, and you can find out all the requirements and get all the information there for that. Also information about natural disasters, what you can do to prepare. There's our CERT classes, CPR classes, information about wildfires and so on. Plenty of good information that we wouldn't have enough time to spend on here tonight. So go to fire.slc.gov. There's plenty of information. I don't know if you have any questions for us.
Does anyone out there have a question for the fire department? How about anybody in the room have a question?
I just had one thing. We had a small earthquake today. Do you all have any recommendations on dealing with larger earthquakes that cause real problems for us? Or?
Yeah, so some of the things that you can do for yourselves and your family is to have a 72 or 96 hour kit ready to go. And that being, again, some personal supplies, including medications, clothing, food, water, and then don't forget pets if they have medications, food as well. Just something to get by if you find yourself without power, water, or anything for 4 or 5 days. The next thing we'd like to just emphasize is kind of self-care for you and your family, and then your community, because the 911 resources are going to be so overwhelmed during a big response like that. I don't know if you remember, it's been probably 5 years or so. We had that big windstorm that came through, knocked down a ton of trees, took out power lines. Our 911 system was so backed up just from that little emergency compared to a large-scale earthquake. So So again, just kind of knowing the things you can do to prepare for yourself and your families, and then checking in on neighbors. We're going to be focused on infrastructure, things like schools, hospitals, elderly homes, those kind of things. So when it comes down to like individual residences, the best thing is just checking in on each other.
And checking your home, like your mechanical room, make sure you don't have a gas leak, you don't have water leak, water heater tip over, anything like that. You might need to shut off your gas at the meter, and make sure nothing like that. Those are the biggest things.
Yeah, anything that you can handle on your own, or reach out to someone with that knowledge to not overwhelm our 911 system would be greatly appreciated.
I have a question about the certain signups. So we had a few people that maybe signed up a little late, they just couldn't figure out the process. So when they're signing up for the cert, how far in advance? I mean, it's an online process, right?
And in person.
No, I meant the sign up.
Oh,
It's an
sign up, yeah,
online
online,
process.
yes.
Yeah. So how far in advance of the course starting should they try and sign up?
That's a good question that I don't have the answer to, but I can find out and get back to you. I just know like we do have it on our website to sign up for those classes, but I'm not sure how often they run and how early you have to sign up for those. But I can definitely find out and get back to you on that.
Okay, well, or I could just call them and get that information back out to folks. But, all right, well, that, I think that's good information. I just wanted to say, big kudos to the fire department. We happened to be sitting in on the Facebook Live of the downtown community council meeting last night, and one of the new captains on twos gave an incredibly good response to a gentleman who had like 15 minutes worth of questions. And it was really a testament to how well your captains and you're all being trained, and we really appreciate that you're able to address any question that constituents can throw at you. And I mean,
Except for the
appreciate-
cert question,
Right,
yeah.
no, I mean, that's
Yeah.
a different thing, right? The cert thing is, you know, has
I'll get
been
trained up on
really-
that.
yeah. It's been really interesting to kind of watch it come online. So that's kind of a one-off, but I was really just impressed, and I wanted to make sure that you guys heard that from us directly, that we saw it in action. We saw you in action with constituents.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
All right, should we move on? Thank you guys.
Oh,
Right?
thank you.
So nice to see you.
Yeah, take care.
See you, thank you.
Bye.
Talking about the frozen water, last night the news had a deal somewhere in the valley or in the mountains. They pulled 2 deer out of the reservoir.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Because they were frozen and they couldn't move.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
so, other duties as assigned.
That's all good. That's good.
Okay, so as always, whenever the fire department's here, we go ahead and just like stop our meeting and go ahead and let them talk, because we never know when they're gonna be able to be here. Our Station 5, you know, we run the chat out of there nowadays, so they're very, very busy, and we're lucky to get them. You know, obviously we haven't seen them in a few months, so that was really great. And I invite the public to sign up for Chief Lee's newsletter. It's really informative. It really just covers a lot of what they presented tonight, but in addition, it covers things that are just, you know, kind of one-off topic that we wouldn't necessarily think of, you know, unless we're preparing for emergency. And I'll get that information on the chat, because I know there's some of us that are still interested in participating. Okay, so moving on, I'm gonna do the quick introductions. I'm gonna start with myself. I'm Christina Robb, and I currently serve as chair of East Liberty Park Community Organization. I live in the west of East neighborhood. In fact, directly behind, to the west of East High School, which is how we got our name. Online, we have James Birchler, who is our one of our new representatives, and he represents the Gilmer Park area. Welcome, James. I have across the table from me, Alan Crittenden, and he is a board member at large, but he also serves as our Land Use and Transportation Committee Chair, so thank you for being here. Michael Mayo is our newest board member. He represents the West Emerson area. He's the representative for that area. Michael Mayo is also heading up the newly inspired Friends of Liberty Park organization. So we're going to be hearing more from Michael. around all of that. Then we have Judy Short, who is our land use advisor, but Judy also serves as the first vice chair and the land use committee chair from Sugar House. So most people don't realize that East Liberty Park and Sugar House have an overlap that has been established a long time ago, in between 1300 South and 1700 South, for which East Liberty Park does all of the land use. So those folks, whenever there's a need, the departments will come to our meetings, so they don't have to go to two. So we're really lucky to have Judy on our board, so that we just share a lot of information with Sugar House. Also in the room, we have our brand newly elected District 5 Council member, Erica Carlson. We have our police, and we have representatives from the city. So I'm gonna just move on with the agenda by welcoming Detective Gordon Swift, who is our new liaison. We said farewell to Officer Samuel Fallows, who has been moved up to a sergeant, so we're really excited, and we wish him the
Oh,
best.
good,
of
I
luck.
hadn't heard that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
Detective Swift here is actually pretty familiar with some of the things that we do up here, because he used to work as a school resource officer over in Glendale. And as we all know, that being home to East High School here provides us a lot of opportunity to communicate with our friends in Glendale, mostly for all the sorts of issues that we have along 800 South, or 900 South and 800 South, with east-west connections and train tracks, and then schools, because of course Glendale is a major feeder school to East High. I'm going to turn it over to you. You can tell everybody what you want to know about.
Oh, so yeah, so I just took this order from Fellows. I'm 17 years in the department. Again, all the west sides. Again, so if you mention what you think is a landmark or a familiar thing up here, I might not know what that is right away. Because yeah, west of the freeway, I know every alley, and up here, I just do not. And so again, I'm driving around a lot. I'm getting the hang of it. But yeah, so like known problem areas might be new to me up here. Yeah, I've done patrol, field training officer, a number of detective spots, and like I was telling her, most recently came off the violent criminal apprehension team. I still go out with them quite a bit. That's our plainclothes unit that goes out and finds like homicide suspects, robbery suspects, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I mean, I know some of the guys just go over like generalized stats in the area and stuff like that. I mean, typically I feel like it's better maybe a little more interactive. Like what questions do you guys have for me? What are the things you're noticing, stuff that you think needs more attention, needs to be addressed? Obviously, I know the area right around East High during the school year, because like you said, I'm familiar. Those are a lot of my little Glendale kids. A few of them are buttheads and get into trouble. And so yeah, I know that's a common one. What else kind of besides that, or is that the primary thing you guys are seeing around there? Or?
I just want to clarify on that we've been communicating, you know, we will be touching base on that, and we're happy to say that, you know, it's very quiet up at East High School right now, so.
That's great, because
you know,
for a
lot of
while it
stuff
was
has
really
been-
rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
what I said. So I was in Glendale from 2017 to 22, and there was some rough times.
Yeah.
Pulling guns off kids, things like that. Yeah.
So, we had sort of a little pre-meeting, and I told him my impression of East Liberty Park is, you know, we just don't have a lot of problems that folks, you know, come to the community council to solve in terms of crime. Juveniles are difficult because we're always faced with privacy issues, FERPA and HIPAA. And those kind of things make it difficult for us to, like, one, just try and help be part of the solution to keep kids on track, but also, you know, handling the situation if something does go wrong, you know, working with the school district and this kind of stuff, because, you know, privacy issues. So, again, I just want to shout out to our school resource officers and our ex-school resource officers for just, you know, handling the situation with such, I don't know what it is, just caring for the kids, you know, because sometimes it gets hard, and sometimes it gets scary and it gets dangerous, but the kids are all, in my experience, school resource officers are always there to keep a level head and to try and do best for their community, which is gonna be the kids, and also then the teachers and, folks who represent us in the public school system, so,
Yeah,
thank you.
and the two you have up there right now are actually real good. They're both, it's Jackie Oseo and Rakeem Redmond, and both of them grew up in Glendale. And like Jackie played soccer at East, Rakeem went to East, and so, yeah, they're very familiar. I mean, they're real good at it. So, I mean, by all means, if you have something at that school or those spilling out from the school, yeah, give them a call. They're up there every day.
So the other thing that we talked about is, that, stats are a really important part of what we do, but, the stats in Liberty Park, don't really move much. So if, we're gonna kind of just continue, hitting the stats so hard unless there is something to look at. And we did have, a, shooting right by my home, just by the 7-Eleven on 13th East, and,
Oh, that's the
we.
stolen bike, right?
Yeah, so we have had some, the press seemed to go out pretty well on that. So if anybody has any further questions about that for our officer.
Seemed isolated. He was getting his bike taken, and for whatever reason, he decided to, not necessarily defend himself from, because my BCAT got sent out to pick up a couple of those people, like the woman driving the truck. We actually just got her a few days ago over in Glendale. But it sounds like he was, as the guy's riding away, is spraying rounds at him. Just seen a lot sending rounds in the neighborhood. But it does appear to be like an isolated thing, not like an ongoing thing in the neighborhood. It's just super poor judgment on that guy's part, and that's why he got charged. Was the number of rounds and the whole entire context. I think it was just one round they hit the guy like in the back. So.
Unfortunately, this is a resident of our neighborhood, so it, it's just it was a tough situation all around, a sad situation. But the reason why we brought it up tonight is because there was a lot of misinformation that went out on it. And, luckily Chief Fred, our new, police chief, is so diligently working on, improving his department and, working on issues of miscommunication. I reached out to Erica directly. Erica was so helpful in sort of analyzing the situation from a miscommunication standpoint. I got back a hold of Chief Red, and he was thankful that we had noticed sort of this potential, for things to go wrong. In this case, it wouldn't cause a safety issue for the first responders, but in other things it could. So, we want to be really careful about, as a community council and especially as a board, how we talk about things as it's being investigated. Like definitely people are innocent until they're proven guilty, and then there's a lot of alleged things and a lot of gossip that goes around. So I was pleased.
You lost your picture.
Yeah, it's such a sensitive thing. Yeah. So again, thank you, Erica. Thank you to the police department. The other thing that is that we wanted to talk about with the police department, why we have you here, and of course is that up at East High School we did have some people tell us that they were going to start inviting ICE into our neighborhood to deal with some of the problems that, again, we're not having right now.
Who were the people that were telling you?
Neighbors.
Neighbors.
Right, but I'm not gonna like
No,
state
but-
those
no.
problems. Yeah, so.
I just wondered if it was.
Yeah, so again,
Calculators.
our community is full of different people with lots of different opinions. So we took that information and we went to the next available community council, which was Central City, and spoke with Tim Cosgrove, who is their Josh, right? And we sort of, just put it out there publicly that, we're gonna continue to advocate for the kids in our neighborhood and their attendance at school. I just wanna put on the public record that early in 2025, led by one of our board members who, isn't here, David Jones, ELPCO did do a Know Your Rights advocacy project up at East High School, where we brought in a immigration lawyer to sort of help students and parents and neighbors who were concerned to understand their rights, as of course we all understood them at that point. But there potentially has been a shift in, like what rights people have. And I'm gonna turn this now over to James so that he can discuss what our neighbors here in East Liberty Park have been reaching out to us to tell us about their concerns regarding immigration. So James, welcome, go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you.
It can never be seamless.
Oh, good. Zoom is a great thing.
Looking for it.
Still can't hear you. Do you want to fiddle with it? Because I can go on to Erica. Give me a thumbs up if that works. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on past this and come back to it. Now I'm gonna introduce Erica, which we've all met, right? Erica has been really kind and gracious to come to our meetings as often as she could while she was actually campaigning. So she's not a stranger to East Liberty Park. The way that we're gonna start working with Erica is we're basically just gonna turn the floor over to her to let her communicate and tell us what she would, like to see ELPCO do to reach more of our constituents. So take it away, Erica.
All right, well, I'm going to give you a couple updates, many of which you may already be aware of. It's legislative session season, the most wonderful time of the year. I know, our favorite. 45 days of so much happening. And one bill that I think really affects this community that all of us are really tracking very closely is the bill that would rename Harvey Milk Boulevard, which I stand firmly against, not only because residents of Salt Lake City made the decision, community leaders said we want Harvey Milk Boulevard, but also because the larger issue is preemption, which is the state overriding what is local control or local laws. And Salt Lake City should have the ability to name Salt Lake City streets. Personally, I feel like there are bigger problems in our state to solve than the name of the street. But that's my own personal commentary on the issue. I am going to be hosting my first town hall on March 25th. And Christina knows this, and if you all don't know this yet, I am a big fan of the CERT program that was mentioned earlier, the Community Emergency Response Training course. In my town halls, I'll be covering some key issues affecting the city, but also try to interweave some emergency preparedness skills that members of the community can learn. At this first one thing I'm trying to do is have people have an opportunity to use a fire extinguisher. Because how many of us have actually used a fire extinguisher before? Hopefully not. Hopefully it wasn't a dire situation, but beginning to build the capacity to respond in small ways to some of the emergencies that we know will eventually come for us. I want to bring you up to date on two big things that have been before the council that you may have heard about in the news. One of those is the question of automated license plate readers. And I will share that's still an open question before the council. Salt Lake City does have license plate readers. They play a crucial role in helping to solve crimes throughout our city, and I think in fact in the last major homicides that happened, they played a crucial role in identifying suspects that may be involved in that.
Pretty much every single one, and there's a lot of there's some weird information going around, rumors that like we share that data with ICE and this and that is not what happens. Like there's very strict state laws about how you access and when and how you access that data, because we've done it for years. And so it's a little odd it's coming up now, but so when you want to go in there and say search for a plate or something else, every one of those searches is attached to a case number and a reason. Like say, if we want to manually enter in a plate of someone we're keeping an eye out for, again, we need a criminal case like on that. I can't just be like, hey, where's my ex-girlfriend, you know, been had her out of town. No, it's, so like for the VCAT unit, it's for us either looking for fugitives, it's, you know, us looking for someone we were building a case on as a fentanyl dealer, or he's posting online with guns and he's a felon. I mean, it's all things like that, shooting cases, and then same thing, you can do broader searches in an area right after a crime. And so that's how we started isolating the cars that are all taking off from, say, a shooting scene. Is sometimes you just get a general description, we can pull the cameras and start matching that up, and times like, okay, here we go, there's the black SUV they're talking about with the big rims, there's the gold four-door sedan, and it's an invaluable tool. We use it constantly, and it has been a massive thing. I spent 3 years on that violent criminal team, and we use it constantly, and it's a giant benefit for the city. It would really be a big loss to get rid of that based off of rumors that aren't even true. Like, well, regardless of how you think of sharing the data with ICE, that's not what goes on. Like, so that should be a non-starter.
Is that a bill?
So, it's a good question. Part of, and a little bit I think is the timing of the issue. Part of why this is a part of our conversation now, even though Salt Lake City has had license plate readers, I think, for almost 10 years now, and have and you know, seen the effectiveness of it. The city applied to a grant from the Department of Justice, a small grant for more license plate reader cameras. And the grant came before the council, and that's happening at the same time as some of these ICE operations are happening.
It was like 250, 300,000, something. It was basically just to buy more cameras, to expand the network we already have.
Yeah, and I'll be totally honest with you, I see the value of the program, I see the value of how it helps to solve crimes. And I also have some concerns about privacy rights, and I am on this issue, I see both sides, to be frank and honest about it.
I mean, if you're committing a crime,
Yes.
don't you lose your privacy issues?
Well, and again, we have to have a criminal case on just
Yeah.
running the searches.
So you have to have enough
Yeah.
evidence.
And-
Yeah,
yes.
if you run that search, you enter them in as a watch thing, everything's attached to a criminal case, there's notes on it. I mean, again, it's not something you can just play around with, looking for random people. It's very controlled who can access it. I mean, not even every police officer in the department has access. Some do and some don't. You have to go through a training, you have to clear, you know, a class and all this stuff. I mean, it is
So that's
very
good to know.
restricted data.
Yes, it is restricted. The other thing that I
Can
that
I
learned-
just clarify
Yeah.
though? Okay, so just to be clear, so that everybody can follow the conversation, is that there is a community in Salt Lake that is very concerned about the rumors of ICE and, you know, state control, and nobody's questioning the Salt Lake City Police Department on this. I simply think that there is a group of folks who their privacy concerns are that this money would be usurped by the federal or state level officials at some point, so that Salt Lake City would lose their
Control.
rights to this control. And that is the controversy that Erica is referring to, and why she sees both sides. So I just wanted to
Yes,
clarify
yes.
both sides of the issue. And, you know, I think it really behooves us to explore this, because that contingency seems to be growing. Folks that are more and more concerned about what they're seeing in the media around ICE. Okay.
Yes, okay.
Continue.
So, and just to be clear, what's on the table before the council right now is not thumbs up, thumbs down to the whole automated license plate reader program. That's not what's being discussed. It's about whether or not to accept this particular grant of $230,000. But it came up at the same time that increased ICE operations are happening throughout our country. That leads me to talk about ICE and Salt Lake City, and to dispel any rumors that might be present. Salt Lake City Police Department does not assist ICE in immigration enforcement cases.
Yeah,
That's
so there is some overlap is purely, tends to be on certain types of criminal cases. Like, we don't go out for roundups, we're not cross-deputized. So say like on VCAT, one of the things we get tasked with when we're not looking for fugitives or say suspects is one of the hot topics the last couple of years is targeting fentanyl dealers because for obvious reasons. So on the street level, the cartels tend to traffic up Hondurans for their street level dealers. So say if we bust a Honduran with 3,000 fentanyl pills and we're pretty sure he's illegal, yes, we're gonna notify ICE about a guy like that. That's the overlap we tend to run into. Known gang members, like what we think is a cartel employee or something like that, but we don't get cross-deputized to go with ICE and go look around and do like.
Ground of 5-year-old kids and other things that are happening right now.
No.
We're still looking to have you. Like, I mean, we have had mostly young community liaison officers that have been just starting out their career. So it's so interesting to have somebody at our table that has such an intricate history with the department.
Yeah, it's again, a lot of rumors go around it, and even on the current operations in other states, you gotta remember too, is like, ICE doesn't have a master list of everyone who's here illegally. They are largely operating off of people with existing court cases who have existing deportation orders, and people who've been either booked on crimes or convicted of crimes who they then later find out are illegal. Like, they've already been released from jail. That's the bulk of what they have to actually target. I mean, there's, of course, some operations where they go to employers or a Home Depot or something, but most of those operations are revolving around that specific cohort. And so if you have people like that in the community, I mean, the greatest advice I can give anyone who's nervous about that is stay home and don't break the law, and don't hang out with people who are breaking the law, because that's a lot of the collaterals we see who don't have a record. They're typically swept up because they're in the area. Like, say they live in the house with someone who caught a felony for something, and so when they go to get that guy, they go check everyone in the house. But they're not doing like a lot of random business checks or things like that. They tend to be pretty targeted things, and so that's the greatest thing. And we would have these conversations in Glendale with parents, like, hey, don't get arrested for things, and that is a big part of it. We'll stay off the radar.
So, one thing that I will say is that, you know, we just had the oath of office 3 weeks ago, and in the oath of office, you don't take an oath to a group of people, you don't take an oath to, you take an oath to a community, you take an oath to support, defend, and obey the U.S. Constitution. And that Constitution has some clear things that we have to work hard to uphold and to follow. Peaceful assembly, right to free speech, due process, the ability to petition your government for grievances. All of those things are what we are called to do. And so I feel very clear in my role as Salt Lake City Council member, that's my North Star, is to support, defend, and obey the Constitution in all that I say and do. At the same time, I do feel like there is a lot of fear in the community right now related to immigration enforcement. There are people who are getting swept up in these enforcement operations that, in my own personal view, are inappropriate to be swept up in the manner in which they are. Salt Lake City, both the mayor's office and city council are exploring ways that we could help support community groups doing things like know your rights trainings or legal advocacy types of things.
Similar to what we did in the beginning of 2025. It would be almost identical to what we.
So
That's perfect.
So, and again, under all of this, I think the clarity is like the Constitution is our North Star, period, in this. That's what we've all taken an oath to uphold. Last thing that is not as juicy or sexy, but very important, is that we are currently in the budget amendment process. So if you tune into your city council meetings on Tuesday afternoons, you will hear us talking about budget amendments. And what that means is that throughout the year at different points, there may be a need to amend the budget because what was projected maybe is not what's happening. For instance, a backhoe went out of service, a big dig or something like that, and so we might need to purchase one of those types of things. We're in the budget amendment process right now. I'm very clear, my most important job as a council member is to pass a balanced budget. And so the mayor prepares a budget, and that process is currently ongoing with departments, hands over the budget to the city council in beginning of April, and then April, May, and June is like when that reconciliation process happens. The budget needs to be passed by the end of June. And so you will hear me talking a lot about the budget. I think it's gonna be a hard budget year with a lot of hard decisions. And that means that as much as we may want one thing, we may need to compromise and focus on some core issues, road maintenance, ensuring our parks are clean, ensuring that we're funding essential operations like police officers and fire department, public safety folks. Yes.
So remind me, remember, or I don't know if I'm actually remembering this correctly, but that they did a zero budget last year, zero growth budget. But this year they alluded to that there would likely be a property tax increase. Is that right?
They did allude to that, and you know, a budget is simple. You either decrease expenses or increase revenue. And I wanna do everything we can to decrease expenses before we think about increasing revenues via property taxes, cause I think people are they're struggling right now. I know some folks in my neighborhood who are seniors on fixed incomes, and they're like, they're looking to take out a reverse mortgage to pay their property taxes. People are really hurting right now, so I feel like my job is to do everything we can, exhaust every possibility, every nook and cranny before we move in that direction.
Have we lost federal money?
That's probably likely there too. And because it is the most wonderful time of the year with our legislative session happening, there are some bills that are being talked about that would limit municipalities' ability to raise property taxes, which I think would have long-term consequences. Now, I know the Utah League of Towns and Cities is actively working on that and trying to, mitigate that bill, but it is if that passes, I think it's a hard thing for any municipality.
I just want to support Erica in this situation in that, like, it's her first budget season, and those of us who are old, right, really value the budget season because, of course, I'm an economist by training, a behavioral economist. So I know that my power as a citizen has always really revolved around going and letting people know what I would like the money to be spent on. So what we hear a lot, and over like the decades that I have been, bumping my head against the civics of Salt Lake versus the Utah legislatures, we hear a lot of folks that know what they don't like. But what I've always noticed is a lot of people just don't know what they like or what they would really like to prioritize. And sometimes that's really helpful. Do you agree?
Yeah, and a budget's a reflection of your values. It's a reflection of like what's important to you, and it tells a story about that. And I think that Salt Lake City, compared to other cities across the state, or I would even say nationwide, does a really good job about having a transparent budget that is easy for citizens to pull, to understand, to make meaning of. One thing I'm gonna try to do in April is a city budget 101 to really empower residents to ask more questions and ask more of us in making those decisions.
And I'd like to invite my board and everybody who, this video of course gets recorded and we send it out to everybody to be able to listen to later. I'd like to invite everybody to plug in to these Tuesday afternoon work sessions, because all of the folks, Chief Lieb shows up from the fire department, of course, Red and his whole crew will be there to explain, and defend their asks. So it's just really important and really, actually really interesting. It's kind of the core of how the city works.
Yes.
So people who plug into the budget really learn about the city at a whole different level then. So
Yes.
I'm really excited that this is Erica's first season because the community council is asking really good questions right now. So thank you for that,
Yes,
Erica.
yes. Last, I'll leave my.
Or the city council.
Yes, and community councils always ask good questions too. I'll leave my email address up on the board. I'll stay for the rest of the meeting. Please contact me if you have something that's going on in your neighborhood. If there's a pothole that you haven't been able to get filled with
The
my
800
SLC.
block of Harrison.
If you're wondering when your street will get redone.
Use the app. Use the app.
Happy to talk to you about any concerns that you have, and I feel very strongly that I'm here really with the trust of the public and at your service.
No,
So.
one thing I'd really like to see solved is a decent homeless shelter. Not one that's in the middle of the mosquito swamp.
Yes.
That's inhuman out there.
Yes, that's another thing
Where the
that's
where the farms are at 2200 North, something like that one,
the campus.
Right. I mean, the legislature was stupid enough, pardon my language, to, to take, money for 5
Mhm.
and put them in 3 and say, oh, that's gonna work, kept the rest of the money. Well, it didn't work.
And we might be setting ourselves up for another situation with the campus model that is still not fully funded, and there's not a steady stream of funding that would go towards supporting that campus model, and then larger questions about, SLC PD, fire, et cetera, responding to issues that may happen at that shelter site.
I'm gonna plug the fire department again here. There was intensive questions asked in this arena, and we don't have a lot of time to get into
Okay,
the homeless
that's fine.
shelter. That will be for a different meeting. I think it deserves a different meeting. But the new captain at Station 2 handled those questions so incredibly concisely and clearly that you can follow the Downtown Community Council on it's a Facebook Live, a recording, so it's the very first part of the meeting. So if you have further questions, or if your neighbors do, there's a really good sort of call and response discussion between the fire department and a neighbor that hit these topics pretty well. So I would invite you all to. So yeah, Judy, that's a good question, but like I said,
Yeah,
we'll
that's
open
good.
that up for a different meeting.
Yeah.
Are you good?
I'm
We're gonna
good.
invite you to be a part of the communication.
Oh, yeah,
because,
yep, you'll hear from me a
okay,
lot,
great.
so, and I hope to hear from you even more, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I kind of like to have these meetings because we have a respectful group, but also the dialogue gives us a lot more information than we would if we were just presenting. So now, James, I'm going to go ahead and turn the agenda over to Josh Arboyo from the mayor's office, because he might want to touch on some of the things that you're going to talk about. So Josh, welcome. I'm so happy to see you.
Did you want to let him go first, or did you want to?
He's
Because
given-
he
he's
was
given
going to
me
earlier.
the-
I know.
Do you want to go ahead? Yeah, maybe it would be okay to let James jump in, and then
Yeah.
then you maybe can respond
That's-
to
yeah.
what we're seeing.
Okay.
Does that work?
Mhm.
Okay.
Can you hear me now, okay?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to reiterate about what we were talking about with the fear that we're hearing from people in our community.
This is
And I've heard
ELPCO,
from people,
East Side
yeah,
here.
so I've heard from my neighbors, and the fear is so great that I couldn't even get them to I'm just like, hey, send me an email with your questions. And they're like, no, I don't want to go on the record. Like, that's how much fear there is. And so I did my best to capture it just verbally. And I can send this stuff in, Christina, because I have it in a Google Doc now. Just I wrote down the questions that I heard.
Great. Do you want to touch on some of those? Because unfortunately, Jeanette isn't here, so I don't have another computer available to help me share a screen. So do you want to just go ahead?
I'll just touch on them. I just wrote down 7. And they start with, how can citizens best collaborate with the Salt Lake City Police Department to organize and participate in peaceful protests, basically. So just exercise First Amendment free speech rights safely and in collaboration. That was the first question. The next one was, and I think we touched on this a little bit, but is the police department planning to participate in ICE activities by offering support to ICE personnel in any way? Like, is that gonna happen? Then it was, does the police department have data and information sharing agreements in place with ICE? And if so, like, what information is shared and how is that done? Then based on what people are seeing in the news, if a federal ICE agent breaks local or state laws while they are doing their thing here, will the Salt Lake City Police Department arrest them for breaking those laws? And can citizens who are, potentially impacted by ICE personnel potentially breaking the law, can they call the police for help and get that support? So that's and then there was a couple of specific ones was if an ICE agent pins somebody down and sprays a chemical agent in their eyes at close range, will the police department intervene to protect that citizen? And if ICE uses tear gas or other chemical agents on groups of citizens peacefully assembled to protest, will the police department intervene to protect those citizens? And then can they call for support if the police isn't already present? Will the police come and help? So that covers what I heard so far.
That's a fantastic work, James. I really appreciate you putting yourself out there and doing that legwork. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've had a lot of conversations this week. This topic's been coming up a lot, but and James and I have been communicating a lot. So right now, I think what we have planned to do is follow up directly with our new community liaison officer and also Chief Red if we need to, just to get some information back to those citizens, including both our liaisons here from our city council and our mayor's office. Just trying to give the most educational response that we can to our citizens, with the caveat that that potentially we don't have any guarantees. So
definitely some of those are above my pay grade.
Right, yeah. So is that sort of the course of action that we decided to so that we can actually respond to our constituents here on the east side?
That would be great, to just be able to come back and just share information,
Okay.
basically. Be conduits of information.
Great, so we'll talk with our liaisons on maybe the best way for us to do that. And I mean, I really appreciate you being very clear. We saw this with Sam Follows, that your position is very somewhat limited. It doesn't have a lot of teeth to solve all the problems in the community that maybe people expect you to do.
Yeah, some of those are broader overarching questions.
So we really appreciate your honesty and straightforwardness, because we, that was an issue with us working with, Detective Follows was on our side and on our team, but his role was he just couldn't handle a lot of what our citizens were asking.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I can definitely tell you what I've seen.
Right.
What I see at the baseline operations,
Right.
Again, I've never seen us cooperate in a roundup or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, we haven't been given any notification that I've seen that similar operations are going on out here. I would say I think part of the reason for that is Utah generally, if someone gets accused of a felony and goes to our jail, they do get held on that federal detainer. Part of of course there's a political side to all this, but part of the reason these operations have gone this way in some other states is none of them are getting held. And so they have this giant list of people who didn't get held, and that's one of the examples they're setting is we're like, hey, we're gonna get it one way or another. There's not nearly that kind of dynamic out here. And so I don't think that kind of operation's coming here. I mean, I can't promise that. I've heard zero rumors. We haven't been notified operationally of any need, to stand by or anything like that. So to my knowledge, that is not an issue that's hitting us yet.
Great, and I think that we're gonna stop there and put an asterisk on the yet, because I do feel like a lot of us at the street level have heard rumors of, a potential detention center being built on the west side, and also some mobilization. And again, the caveat is that these are rumors, but we do know that the city council and the mayor have been actively engaged in conversations around these issues. So given that the rest would just be speculation, I'm just gonna move on with the agenda. Again, thank you, James, really appreciate you, and Josh, you're up.
Thanks. Thanks, James, for sharing those questions from the community. Our front desk gets a lot of calls about a lot of different issues, and a lot of the national issues have been coming up, like ICE, and a lot of what's been going on nationally and internationally, and kind of wanting the city and wanting the mayor to state her position on a number of things. And so she has released statements to the media on ICE and on the rumors about the ICE detention center. You may have seen in the news that she sent a letter to the property owners of that rumored property and just kind of said, that is not an allowed use. It's not what it's zoned for. Just a reminder. But there was no formal ask of the city or application or anything like that. It was just that was done in response to the rumors. But if you want, as a community council, a copy or any of those statements, I know they're accessible in the media, but if you ever want a copy of anything that the mayor said on any of these issues, we're happy to share it with you.
Yeah, I think that would be really great, because then we can at least post it on social media as a, like just a entry level, like educational thing. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. But yeah, any concerns like that, we may not have all the answers, because a lot of times with the federal government, we don't have all, any of the answers on what they're.
Neither do they.
Well, neither do they. But I think that we definitely want to hear from people, and not have people. Understandably, people are nervous, and in some cases don't want to contact government. But we hope that we can just communicate that we're a welcoming office, and we want to hear from the community and hear concerns, and the mayor is committed to doing her best to protecting the community and alerting the community to anything that she might hear that would impact the community. So yeah, you just reach out if you have any questions on that. She'll be giving her State of the City speech next week on Tuesday, the 27th at 7 p.m. So please tune in, and it'll be available right afterwards online to stream. But it's going to be streamed on the mayor's Facebook page and on the Salt Lake City or SLC TV YouTube page. And so that will be, I think it's a good glimpse into maybe what the budget and some budget priorities and what the mayor's priorities are for the year to come as we approach the budget season. It's a kind of a good first step in that, I think. And aside from that, please, use the SLC mobile app. Reach out to us if you have those, issues with reporting things and getting things addressed. Also, Shape SLC, shape.slc.gov is where city's putting all the surveys, and you can also go there to subscribe to newsletters. We do a lot of newsletters in the city. Pretty much all the departments have a newsletter, and it can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes I wish that we could consolidate some of them, and maybe we can have some of those conversations going forward. But there's a lot of newsletters and ways to get information. So at shape.slc, you can select which ones you'd like to subscribe for, depending on if you want info on a project or from a department. And we also have the Olympics coming up next month. On February 6th is the opening ceremony, and the broadcast of that starts at 7 p.m. out at the Civic Center, which is at City Hall in the Library Square. And there's going to be some festivities and entertainment and things for families and for everyone. And so we're just inviting people to come out on that night, and then the following days during the day there's going to be activities and broadcasts of the events of the Olympics as they happen. So we'll be sharing information. I don't have more specifics on that, but
I posted it on
up.
Facebook today.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're getting a little bit more info as it comes a little closer. So, and I think that is all. That's all I had for from our announcements from my end. I'm happy to, or any questions or feedback.
I have a comment, and I just wanted to be transparent about this. So I've let my council person know my thoughts on this, right? And I invite all of you to do the same, because we might be ELPCO, we might be a board, you know, and we represent our constituents. But now that we have you know, brand new, excited, you know, ready to hear from person, council member on board, or from people, council member on board, I just think that we should take advantage of Erica's spirit, right? So she's so gracious to listen to me. And one of the things that I have been clear about, because of the work, so much work I do in public safety, and you know, this is kind of the next thing on the agenda, is that especially up around East High School, but also coming from a family of police officers and, you know, having so many friends on the force and fire and in EMS and Gold Cross and things like this. I really feel like supporting our police department is necessary, both because of politics, in which, you know, this public safety plan was mandated by the state, and that we really do need to, you know, be cognizant of making sure that our crime is constantly going down here and that people feel safe, things like that. I feel strongly about that. So I want to be less obscure. I want to clearly delineate between what's supporting our police department in order to do their job, their public safety, and this other thing that's happening, which is ICE. And I'm hoping to have, you know, separate those two issues out. So I, you know, have been really in support of something that is a potential budget amendment, which is this Salt Lake City Command Center. And Erica didn't speak to it tonight, but I wanted to bring that up. Because of the work I've done specifically working with young folks that we're trying to keep out of gangs and things like that, we see a lot of police chasers that end up being dangerous across the city. And I think Salt Lake City has been really under budgeted, and again, this is my personal opinion, in terms of the way that the tools that they have to keep us safe here. And we're a little bit behind our other fellow capital cities. So I'm going to continue to advocate for, on what other side you're on, as far as funding public safety, that we actually separate the two issues out as much as we can moving forward. And this should be your example of how everyone in the room and everybody online can speak to Erica, because she's just so generous with hearing from you all. So, did you want to say something about that?
Oh, no, just that, honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. I think our SLCPD does a good job in a really hard environment, and this question of a mobile command center is, they need one. They've been borrowing one from the fire department. They need their own, and so I'm supportive of ensuring that our police department has the resources they need to keep all of us safe. And I appreciate the professionalism of the police department, and, you know, hope to work closely with them, hold them accountable, but work closely with them and support them in what they need.
Thank you for saying
Yeah.
that. Yeah, putting that out there. So the last thing we want to cover in all of this kind of public safety stuff that's kind of woven in and out is that the police department is sponsoring or hosting a Coffee with a Cop on January 29th. I forgot the time, but I will put that on social media. We're thinking it was like 10:30 or something.
That's right.
It's on the website.
On the flyer for the
If you look at it right now, it comes up on the website.
I'll post it on social media, make sure everybody has access to that. But it will be held at the Beans and Brews right there by Liberty Park. You know, as everyone's aware, Liberty Park is part of East Liberty, our boundaries, right? And we spend a lot of time in the park consulting with utilizer stakeholders here. I sat on the cultural assets CAG that has been ongoing, where, you know, we're essentially looking on how to support this regional park over the next 100 years. And Michael is starting again this Friends of Liberty Park, which again, we are gonna put to another meeting because, you know, there's a lot of juice in this that people wanna talk to about. But I also, want to tell you, but also make it clear to the group, that we have been contacted by our wonderful host here, Tracy Aviary, about, they're trying to figure out how to get folks to, come back to the park now that, you know, people are feeling more safe here and things like that. They've reached out to us and they're waiting for you and I, Michael, to get back to them to be a partner in this Friends of Liberty Park, situation. And again, shout out to the police, you know, department, if you can take this back to your folks and let them know that we have been getting a lot of folks thanking us and everyone else for, the park.
Yeah, the other Liberty Park community kind of same thing, saying that it's way cleaner than it was
Right.
6 months ago. So
Yeah.
It does look like a lot of, even in my eye, I don't come up to this park near as often as the others, it looks much better.
So just definitely if you can take that back to your people and let them know that. Okay, so Janet Wade, of course, we have some extra time to have some conversation because Janet.
Real quick, if you want, so it's 10 to 11:30 for the coffee.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for looking that up.
Are the cops buying? Just kidding.
They-
Oh, my God.
Shooting your heart
Tell
out.
my
To be
parents
clear,
that.
they
Say
do.
the 29th.
They purchased the coffee for the
29th, the 29th,
That's a really great thing, because they do actually like make sure that the community who comes to talk to them, you know, get to have a little,
I love it.
little treat on them. I think it's a really great thing. I have sometimes just sat there and sort of stuck my ear in to hear what my neighbors were talking about. They had one at Red Goose. It was very informative. So another way that community can come and talk to the city. It's a good thing. So let's see. Oh yeah, happy birthday, Janet. Our 9th and 9th B business liaison is it's her birthday, so she's not here tonight. She's been working diligently on the trash can issue in 9th and 9th. Eric and I have talked to. I don't think that you're really ready to talk about that yet, but forthcoming.
We might have a solution. We might have a solution to trash cans. And we need trash cans at 9th and 9th. The community's been asking for it for a long time. Close to finding a solution, but not yet ready to say it's a done deal, but moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, I'm behind in my, what I said I would do for Janet, which was to go around and make sort of a map of where they are.
All the trash, or all the.
Well, the trash didn't look so bad that I could see. I just couldn't see very many cans. I couldn't even see very many bus stops.
There's only one trash can in 9th and 9th, and that's at the coffee bar. There's no other,
Right.
you know, none of the other businesses have trash cans in front of them.
But they have them at the bus stops, but
Not
mostly, well, they did 2 days ago. The ones that have the little,
Shelter?
Shelter.
Yeah, are you talking, I was talking about specifically in 9th and 9th. I can say
Well,
that.
I just went to 7th East,
Oh.
11th East, and Belmont and 8th East.
Yeah, so in 9th
That-
and 9th, we have no trash cans at all at the bus stops. We did get a call from a neighbor that is the bus stop, the eastbound bus stops there by the whale too. Their trash is piling up. It's literally like a trash heap that is piling up there on, that. So Janet has, and I can share this, has been, communicating with the UTA. What seems like fairly effectively, but we'll just wait for an update from her.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so we have plenty of time for our next, we're actually ahead of schedule because, you know, Janet's birthday. We have plenty of time for our next agenda item, which is, Alan, from our ELPCO's Land Use and Transportation Committee. We, have dubbed our citywide Land Use and Transportation Committee. It means we invite people from all over the city to come on the second Thursdays of the month to get into the weeds on land use and transportation issues. We call that the Affordable Living Initiative, and we stole that from Dan Dugan, the council person from District 6. Because we realize that transportation is lagging behind our land use issues, and unfortunately, like, most people have cars, and our our transportation is taking us away from cars, but our transportation initiatives aren't keeping up. So it's been really great to work with people all across the city to meld all of these ideas and concerns that we're seeing, not just here in our little island, but, you know, especially along the east-west corridors. So take it away.
Well, after that tremendous buildup, I'm going to have to disappoint you because most of what we talked about at the last Land Use Committee meeting was the new initiative on residential zoning, which has been put out. I don't completely understand this posture. It's out as a website from the planning division, and I guess the indications are there'll be formal notice to the community councils sometime in the next several weeks. But this is big enough that they wanted to get it out there that people would talk about it, and I think they're getting their wish. I think people are talking about it some. And we took a fairly long look at it at the Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting 2 weeks ago, and I've sent a note around on that. Just to summarize, for those of you who haven't read through all the presentation materials and text amendments that in draft form that they've provided, I think for our area the main issue is the recharacterization of R1 zoning, and they've tried to homogenize all the different R1 zones and provide some common setback rules on them. Those are relatively innocuous for us. We are almost completely R1 5,000 square foot zone, and the minimum setbacks that they settled on for houses are what we already have. So I'll let the folks in the R1 12,000 square foot area complain about whether that's going to introduce very large mass houses on 12,000 square foot lots. For us, it doesn't really represent a change. The main real change is actually an entirely different section, a new section, dealing with small lot dwellings. And the small lot dwellings have a minimum size of 2,000 square feet. So they really are small lots. And small lot